when it comes to being mom and dad, you can't really switch things up too much. I mean, there's
Yeah.
probably some things you could do.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's just be honest, most children with autism don't do well when you switch things up.
Nope.
When you get told, no, you can't get respite, or no, you can't get this, I think in the long run, you will look back and realize, like, I'm so glad that I didn't just accept no.
Yeah.
Pour a cup, take a break, settle down and join us on a whim. Gentle thoughts, honest talks, it's time for a sip and stim.
Welcome to Sip Stim, where parenting on the spectrum pairs best with caffeine, coping skills, and stims.
Today we're going to be talking about parents and their own personal regulation and burnout, and how you really can't pour from an empty cup. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a icebreaker question here. So Toni, what is the most ridiculous thing that you've cried about this week?
So I think sometimes this is actually a pretty common occurrence. I'll find myself on social media just because I'm on there quite often these days, just due to, like, looking up stuff for the business and Sip and Stim and, school stuff. And actually today I opened my social media up for some reason, just because it's habit. And a mom was posting a video about how there you always remember the first and you the first and the last theory, and how the first time your baby ever drinks from a bottle or nurses, and the last time they ever nurse or drink from a bottle, and the first time they, you know I don't know, I can't think of other examples. The first time they, fall asleep in your arms rocking, the last time they do. And the mom said to her son, who was about 100 pounds, I'm guessing he was roughly, like, I don't know, maybe like 10, 11. I don't exactly know how old he was, but he was pretty mature. And she told him this, and she said, the one thing that I want to remember, because you're getting kind of big, is the last time I can pick you up. And she's like, that
Mhm.
time's going to come soon. And she was like getting all emotional. And of course I'm sitting there, like, probably supposed to be getting ready. Um, and, and she starts crying, and she's like, can I pick you up and can I hold you? And he was sweet. He was like, yeah, okay. Today's the day. Say it's the last day, I guess. And he took
Aw.
it really, he was very serious, but I was like, oh, I was like tearing up. Wasn't like full blown crying, but like, those are the kind of things that I'm like, anything relating to kids, I think are the
Mhm.
things that kind of like definitely pull at my heartstrings. And here I am, of course, tearing up as I'm talking about it. But um, what about you? What's one of the most ridiculous things you've cried about this week?
I'm not a crier, like at all. Like I will go months without crying.
Okay.
Um, but this week I did cry because Grayson went and played air hockey for the first time ever, and
Aw.
he hit the puck and it didn't go in, but
Aw.
like he actually was really into it and he was actually like hitting the puck. So I cried a little bit when I saw that.
Was that at like at your home, or did you go somewhere?
It was at an arcade. Yeah, he loves
Oh,
arcades.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely a milestone moment.
Oh,
That'll be
definitely.
his first. Maybe, hope you won't have to see his last of that, but that's his first
Yeah.
of hitting the puck. That's great.
So I have a really hard time with finding times when I am dysregulated and when I kind of need to have a moment to chill out. I have no problem seeing it really with other people, especially my kids. I don't know if you feel that way too, or if you're just the type of person who kind of just naturally goes with the flow.
Um, I am not necessarily a person that naturally goes with the flow. I try. I try. I think I don't know, it's 50-50.
So when I think about like personal, like burnout and knowing when I'm overstimulated or just dysregulated, um, I've been told that I get very irritable. I tend to stop like eating. And I often go into like insane cleaning and organizing mode. Again, I think that might have something to do with my OCD and just needing to be in control of a situation or get back in control of something. But I have recently caught myself when I get upset or like overwhelmed by our experience and, you know, things that are going on in our lives. I do definitely tend to find a new thing to organize or paint or remodel, something like that. And that's my sign, but everybody's signs are different. You know, you have some parents who just go completely numb and they don't feel anything. I think irritability and, you know, mood swings are definitely, a given. And I get brain fog sometimes. I'm sure that there are parents that do that as well. And with the mood swings and all of that, and you're forgetting things and, you know, you're just not looking at the positives and you're just feeling really, you know, kind of not happy. I don't know how else to really put it. I mean, you're just not really wanting to do anything. You want to like kind of just socially disengage and just be not around people. And I do fit that to an extent. I think Derek actually fits more of those than I do. But I definitely think that, you know, that is recognizing when someone else has burnout or like caregiver burnout. I feel like that's a lot more easier than trying to recognize it in yourself.
Yeah. Now, I guess the thing that I would have a hard time recognizing is the difference between just the occasional irritability versus I'm burnt out. And I guess it probably looks different for every person. And you're right. I think when you're on the outside, you can kind of see it more. I can relate to caregiver burnout, like in a personal way, when it comes to my grandfather who had dementia. And you could literally see when each of the daughters were just done. It was unique because they had each other to lean on. And when one was, usually they burnt out more well past burnout, but at some point the other sibling would say, okay, he's coming to live with me now. And then that would go well until that person burnt out. So, and I can see the difference in each one of my grandfather's daughters. One is my mom, and how they responded. But maybe I have never experienced burnout in that way. And I don't think I've ever experienced caregiver burnout. But I just don't know if I don't know if I've ever been there personally. Maybe that's why I couldn't decipher the difference in myself.
Yeah. And that's really tough. I feel like when you have a parent that you're caring for or like a sick relative, I feel like that's really difficult. Luckily, you know, you had family to lean on. And you all were kind of going through it together. Mm-hmm.
Which is not always the case for...
Correct.
And I would imagine both you and Derek probably get burnt out together at times.
Frequently. And unfortunately, because Derek is working all day as a BCBA, he comes home and he's already pretty much done. So, you know, he doesn't really have the capacity to deal with, you know, the tantrums, the biting, the self-injury, things that we're dealing with right now with Grayson. So I feel like it's a lot easier when you're talking about it, but then when you're in the moment, it really, regulation itself is just very difficult. And, you know, parents spend many, many years co-regulating with their children, but not really fully understanding how to regulate themselves fully. So when you regulate yourself, what kind of things do you like to do?
So for me, I can really resonate what you were sharing about like kind of like, going on your own. I like that quiet time and like no one telling me what to do, calling my name, mom, mom, mom. Um, just time to do whatever I want to do. And usually it's hard because there's this internal thought of mine of like, oh, but I can't be doing this for too long. I have to return to my mom duties, or
Mm-hmm.
there's always that mom guilt. Um, but for me, I don't really have like a specific activity. It's just I'm by myself and I can choose whatever I want to do now.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
that's always
that's
great.
yeah.
Well, and
How about you?
I do very
Oh, you
similar
shared.
things. Yeah. And honestly, if I can't kind of escape, I put noise canceling headphones on and I just kind of ignore everybody. It seems kind of rude, but it's really what I need in the moment. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, but I mean, there are times where I know Derek, when he gets really dysregulated, he'll actually go for a walk, and that seems to help him a lot. So, everybody has their own little thing that just kind of works for them. But, a lot of parents don't ever really find that thing, or at least don't think that they find that thing.
Hmm.
So recognizing your own triggers are just a lot more difficult, I think, when you're living in the moment and you have everything going on around you that is going around, or going on, I guess I should say. I think it's easier to sit back and reflect about your triggers and your emotions in the moment rather than trying to work them out at that time. I feel like that's easier for me to kind of reflect and kind of think on it first
Hmm.
before being able to kind of process it. But there are realistic things that you can do in the moment to kind of ground yourself, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and I really like how you are emphasizing like recognizing your triggers. I mean, that's very behavior analytic and as a BCBA, and I'm sure that you experience this with Grayson and with Derek being a BCBA, he for sure understands this. And just looking at, when I start having an burnout episode, however that looks, maybe it's silently occurring and no one really, maybe other than my husband who knows my behaviors very well, maybe no one else, to them, it doesn't look like a problem. But
Yeah.
maybe, and this isn't particular to burnout, but like when we're looking at Grayson, if Grayson starts having a behavioral episode, usually what you would do is look to see, okay, well, we know that whenever X, Y, or Z happens, this might trigger it. Or, it could be more complex than that, but you kind of look at your setting and what's occurring around you. And I think that
Hmm.
we also, you know, applied behavior analysis, which is a very common therapy used for children with autism, isn't just for autism. It's just understanding our behavior. You're kind of you're explaining a component of that. And I think like you're right. It's very hard. It's hard to do it on your own self. That's why it's so helpful, even if you are a BCBA, to have someone come in your home and work with your son because you can't always see what they can see.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and then, of course, when people can see the dysregulation on the parents, that's when they typically go and say, oh, you need a self-care day, or you need to take a day to yourself. Well, when?
Right. How?
That, yeah, exactly. That is one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody tells me that, oh, well, you and Derek just need a date night, or you guys just need to go and like go to a spa and relax. And I'm just like, on what planet do you think that is even feasible? because it's obviously not this one. It is not the planet of autism because it just doesn't exist. Vacations rarely exist. And I think social media also does really kind of play into that as well. You know, you see people going on vacations and taking trips and spending time with their spouses and things like that. And, you know, that's just not a reality for us. Our reality of self-care is being able to take a shower by yourself and not have a kid at the door pounding on the
Setting
door.
the bar low.
Yeah. Or, you know, even eating a dinner while it's still hot, you know. I mean, those are my two biggest things. I look forward to taking a shower alone when I'm able to. It's very rare, but when I can, it's very kind of relaxing for me, and I don't have to worry about something for like a good 5-10 minutes. So yeah, that the whole myth behind, oh, well, you just need to kind of take care of yourself. Well, I understand that, you know, yes, you can't pour from that empty cup, but the cup really kind of doesn't exist without the parent when it comes to reality. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know this is quite different, but when I think about in my field, a very real thing is BCBA burnout. And it's relatable to autism parenting because the burnout, it's relatable but different. Relatable because, you know, when you're working with several clients, depending upon how many you work with, and some of these companies out there will try to give you like 20 clients, which is, well, we can go into that later, why that's, I don't think that's okay. But, you know, depending on the setting, sometimes in school settings that might make sense. But, you know, you're dealing with, you know, all of these different types of behaviors and the families. And if you're a person like me who kind of like an empath that kind of like carries the burdens of others, like, tries not to, but I do. And, you know, you see them struggling and, you know, I have a case right now that's far from simple and it's very heavy, very, very heavy. And then you're juggling like, you know, the traveling and the scheduling and the cancellations. And typically the way that, you know, I always tell people to deal with it, even though I can't really tell someone how to live their life or, you know, they have to make their money. But typically I would then start planning, okay, what can I do to shift some things around to change things up so that I can, you know, maybe, for example, all of my clients are 200 pounds and this is getting exhausting and they're all very behavioral and this is, you know, a lot. Maybe I might say, can we take two of those clients and pass them over to someone else and we'll do it in a very, you know, you want to do it ethically and make sure you're not just like abandoning a child or an adult, whoever that client is. And then let's go with a different profile, maybe a client that there really isn't any aggression and we're kind of working on different types of skills. And that's kind of a way that I typically would mitigate it in my work field. But when it comes to being mom and dad, you can't really switch things up too much. I mean, there's probably some things you could do. But I mean, let's just be honest. Most children with autism don't do well when you switch things up.
Nope.
And how much switching up can you do?
Well,
so you know, it's hard because I feel like there's a solution for BCBAs, but not for parents.
Exactly. And then you get like the parent guilt that sneaks in. At least I feel guilty when I ask Derek to, you know, take care of, you know, the kids for like 10 minutes so I can go do something, or leave them with him so I can go run errands or something like that. You know, I feel guilty because I'm like, man, he's worked all day with kids who are just like this. And now I'm going to leave him with our kids and leave him to deal with, you know, the problem behaviors that they have. And, you know, you feel that guilt when it comes to just even taking that time for yourself too. Um, it makes me feel bad having to ask him for like help and to switch out and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I realize that if I don't, I'm going to literally be completely burnt out and not a good use at all.
And probably in reality, he's probably not thinking anything of it, but you're just over here feeling bad.
Yeah, and overthinking things
Which
like
is the worst part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're lucky because you have a very involved husband, but that's not the case for everyone. So, but yeah, that mom guilt is real.
Oh my
I
gosh,
feel
it
that.
is. It is. I think that, yeah, it is. I just don't know what else or how else to say it. It's tough. And, you get, along with the mom guilt, you get the partner guilt and the pet owner guilt. Like everything can really fall under it with it. So, yeah.
And I think it's okay to rely on your support system. Like you say, you have to. You have no other choice. And primarily, you are Derek's support system and he is yours. And you're lucky to have a great team that works with Grayson. But, I'm sure there's times where that's not always going to work. Someone gets sick or they're not on the schedule or Grayson's, really sick and it's just not going to work out or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I think, it's okay to rely on those people. And I wish I knew the secret to getting rid of that guilt. But if there was a way to drop that guilt while still staying aware, like I think it's good that you're aware that, hey, Derek's had a really long day and this is a lot for him. But you've also had a really long day and it's also a lot for you. And I don't know, like I think checking in with one another, having those frequent check-ins. And you guys have shared that one of your strategies within your marriage and your relationship is just having that very real talk. You're not going to sugarcoat it. If you need something, just say it. Like, let's not like sugarcoat it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely, that makes a big difference. And, your spouse should be, or your partner should be part of that village that you've built for your family and for your child. And don't be afraid to ask for help or, if it's from a friend or, somebody that works with your child, like a respite care worker or a community worker like we have. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Let them know that, today is just not a good day and you just need a little bit of extra help. I do think that, they're paid to be there, but they also have a lot of caring and a lot of love for your child. So I do think that that is very important. A very important thing. Just build your village, make sure everybody is on the same page, be real, and let them know what you need.
Yeah. And I know it's not always amazingly easy to get those respite services or those, the staff for, let's just clump it all together, even though I know each individual person on Grayson's team has a very specific and expert level of skill in a different area. But I think that from what you've shared and your story, that it's worth it to push through, when you get told, no, you can't get respite or no, you can't get this. I think in the long run, you will look back and realize, like, I'm so glad that I didn't just accept no.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how parents do it without it. I mean, you've done it for so long without it. And it still probably doesn't feel like enough at times.
So yeah, asking for help. I really don't think that there's anything wrong with it or anything to look down upon when you ask for help. You as a caregiver and a parent, you're spending your entire day helping somebody else in a world that really wasn't built for them. And that takes a lot of emotional and physical energy. And taking care of yourself doesn't take anything away from your child. It just gives them the best version of yourself to be the best parent you can be. And just remember that your cup doesn't have to be overflowing, but it does deserve a refill every once in a while.
Yeah, 100%. Please like and follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. We can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. You can comment and tell us what topics you would like to see us discuss on future episodes. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Sip and stim. Sip and stim.